Discover how a heartwarming bubble play by a struggling cleaning lady transformed a millionaire. Grace's laughter rang through the park, pure and infectious. Her two children, Mia and Jake, danced among the bubbles floating in the air, a symphony of colors glinting in the sunlight as they darted through the warm afternoon breeze. The city hummed around them, a backdrop of rush-hour horns and distant sirens fading into insignificance. This was their world, where broken dreams were momentarily forgotten, and joy filled the air, all from a simple bottle of homemade bubble solution. The bubbles popped with delightful splashes. Grace's heart brimmed with love for her kids. Sure, her back ached from long shifts at the school, tirelessly scrubbing floors and cleaning classrooms. But moments like this, surrounded by giggles, warmth, and hope, made the struggles fade into the background. With every bubble they created, she felt like they were brewing a bit of magic, an unshakable belief in brighter days ahead. But today, the magic caught the eye of Mark, a suit-clad businessman, as he wandered into the park during a rare personal crisis. He wasn't searching for bubbles. His stress-laden, corporate life had tightly wound him into a cage of expectations. Yet, as he chanced upon Grace and her children, laughter echoed in a way he hadn't heard in years. For the first time in ages, a smile cracked the stoic facade he'd built around himself. Mark watched, a knot formed in the crowd, voices whispering about Grace's rank as a cleaning lady. The air grew tense as curious onlookers questioned aloud why she deserved to occupy the same park. Grace's heart raced, her instinct to defend herself battling the need to protect her children's innocence. How could they question her worth? She was more than her job. She was their mother, their laughter, their love. Mark shuffled uncomfortably, grappling with his privilege, contemplating the divides separating him from people like Grace. He sensed the raw, heartfelt tension hanging thick in the air. Could he truly connect with the struggles of someone living a life so different from his tailored existence? The crowd, shifting uneasily, questioned the very legitimacy of their shared space. Just as Grace felt the weight of a lump in her throat, her resolve firmed. "Love and determination define me, not my job," she stated fiercely. It was a moment of bravery, a declaration echoing through the tension as her children looked on, wide-eyed. Before her truth could fully settle, an unexpected calamity erupted. Chaos descended as a dog, chasing a bubble, hurtled into the crowd, creating a ruckus that scattered the murmurs and snapped the collective gaze toward the sudden hilarity. The confrontation was over, dissolving into laughter and surprise instead of lingering judgment. As Grace gathered Mia and Jake, her heart raced, a whirlwind of thoughts and uncertainties. Could her worth shine through a world that often overlooks everyday heroes? Meanwhile, Mark stood at the edge, grappling with the day's emotional punch. Could he step beyond the walls of structure and privilege to truly connect? The energy of the park shifted as they walked away, uncertainty hovering like a distant bubble in the air. Both knew change was knocking at their doors. Each step held the weight of new beginnings and the possibility of transformation. Would they recognize the call? The answer lingered like a suspended bubble, waiting to burst. As the late afternoon sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm glow across the park, Grace's resolve stirred something deep within Mark. He felt an unfamiliar tug at his heart. In that moment, he glimpsed the realities of life outside his carefully curated world. He watched Grace kneel beside her children, wiping bubbles from their cheeks while guiding Mia and Jake to help her pack the remnants of their joyous play. "How sweet," someone nearby muttered, likely unaware of the surge of empathy swelling in Mark's chest. It both amazed and troubled him. Why did their simple enjoyment affect him so profoundly? He couldn't shake the feeling that there lay a lesson in the laughter and love Grace enveloped around her children. After the crowd dispersed with teasing laughter about the chaotic dog, Mark took a step forward. "Excuse me," he found himself saying, his voice borderline unsure yet steady. Grace turned, surprised at his approach, her brow slightly furrowed, as if fearing his gaze might still hold contempt. Her eyes softened when he continued, "I wanted to say that was real. What you did, just being there with your kids and making the best out of everything. It was beautiful." Grace blinked slowly, weighing his words with a notes of skepticism. She placed her hands on her hips, still brimming with poise. "Thank you. We try to make the best of what we have." Mark's stomach flipped. He wanted to know more. I, usually don't spend time in places like this. I'm caught in my corporate life, so seeing this kind of joy, well, it pulled me in. She tilted her head, gauging him carefully, both intrigued and wary. What is your name? Mark. Nice to meet you, Mark. What about your kids? She motioned toward the colorful bubbles lingering in the air. A hint of challenge quirked on her lips. I don't have any, he admitted, a sudden heaviness filling the gap between them. I've always been so focused on the business, I guess I never thought. Grace watched him closely. Curiosity sparkled in her children's eyes as they sneaked glances back and forth between the two adults, their innocent giggles threading themselves into the heartfelt moment. I used to be like you, Grace finally said, breaking the momentary silence. Chasing ambitions without realizing what really matters. The weight of unspoken dreams and realities rolled out with her words, painting a backdrop of countless late nights scrubbing away at societal norms. Mark raised an eyebrow, intrigued. You? Really? Yeah, really. But kids change things. They make you see things differently. I wouldn't trade it for anything, she declared, her voice firm. Yet beneath the surface, a flicker of vulnerability fought to break free, a reminder of how easy it could be to become lost. Mark felt something shift within him, a dawning realization that perhaps he, too, could embrace change. As he watched Grace, so strong yet human in the face of life's realities, a spark ignited inside him, a hope that maybe he could free himself from the cage he crafted over the years. Would you ever consider sharing what you do with someone like me? He asked, surprising even himself. I might not have a lot of time, but I'd love to learn how you see the world. A hint of a smile tugged at Grace's lips, mirroring the curiosity now reflected in Mark's eyes. Would she dare take the plunge into this unexpected journey? Would Mark understand that love stretches far beyond comforts and suits? The challenge lingered in the air, waiting for a response that could change their lives forever. Grace hesitated, her heart beating faster. What if this was an invitation not just to share her story, but to change theirs? Let us see where this takes us, she replied at last, her heart dancing with a mixture of excitement and fear. As they exchanged contact details, sparks of opportunity crackled between them, creating an almost electric atmosphere. Little did they know that answering this call would lead them on a road neither had anticipated. What awaited them on that path? Unseen, yet brimming with the potential for transformation. A curious feeling took hold, both hopeful and terrifying, and the world around them seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the next bubble to burst. When Mark returned home that evening, his thoughts swirled with images of Grace and her children. The way she moved, the ease with which she laughed, captivated him in a way he had never experienced before. It was strange to think about how he spent so many years chasing deals and bonuses, while so many have found joy in the simplest of moments. He tossed his briefcase down, allowing himself a moment to reflect, the contrast heavy in the air. Mark sank into his leather couch, feeling its familiar embrace, yet it felt different now. He glanced around his meticulously decorated living room, an overwhelming reminder of his accomplishments, but also of a life that felt increasingly empty. A question hung over him. Was this really everything he wanted? The lingering laughter of Mia and Jake echoed in his mind, a joyful melody that clashed with the silence of his own world. He pulled out his phone and stared at the numbers Grace had given him. The idea of reaching out felt daunting. What could he possibly say? A part of him wished for the easy banter they shared at the park, but the other part feared exposing the cracks in his polished facade. As he sat there, weighing against his fear, something nudged at him. What if this was his chance to connect with a world he neglected? What if he could learn to truly live instead of merely existing? Before he could talk himself out of it, he tapped out a message, keeping it light, just like their conversation. Hey Grace, it's Mark. I've been thinking about our chat. When are you free to meet up? His heart raced as he hit send. He paced back and forth, anxiety buzzing through him until, finally, his phone chimed. It was a reply. Hi Mark. I'd love to. How about coffee this Friday? I'm excited to share some thoughts with you. Mark felt a sudden surge of relief mixed with excitement. Friday felt like a bridge, connecting two starkly different lives. It was just coffee, but the potential for so much more danced on the edge of his consciousness. Friday came, and the sun spilled out warmth as he drove to the cafe. He arrived early, nervously checking his watch. The quaint little place wasn't too far from the park, just the kind of cozy spot Grace would choose. His palms felt clammy as he stepped inside. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee a comforting distraction. When Grace walked in, the world around him faded. She was radiant, her smile instantly lighting up the room. She wore a relaxed outfit that screamed comfort, a stark contrast to the tailored suits he was accustomed to surrounding himself with. Yet in that moment, she looked every bit as confident and poised. "Hi, Mark," she greeted, her voice bright, like sunshine peeking through clouds. "Thanks for meeting me. Thanks for coming." Their eyes met, and something shifted, a tangible energy vibrating in the spaces between them. He was struck by how genuine she seemed, like someone who just rolled with life as punches instead of bracing against them. They settled at a corner table, the sound of casual chatter and clinking cups forming a soft backdrop. Mark leaned in, his curiosity shining bright as he asked, "So, tell me about your world. What makes it so different from mine?" Grace chuckled as she stirred her coffee, the steam curling in the air. "Well, first off, I'm not getting rich from it. But every day is an adventure. With kids, there's never a dull moment. I'm constantly learning from them, even amidst all the chaos." He nodded, captivated. It felt refreshing to hear about a life not measured by financial success, but by moments of laughter and connection. Grace's stories flowed effortlessly. She spoke of their improvised dance parties, spontaneous outings, and the ways her children engaged with the world. Each detail chipped away at Mark's carefully built walls. "Sometimes," she continued, "all it takes is looking at life through a different lens, you know? Like, when the kids blow bubbles, I'm not just watching, I'm captured. I see magic in the mundane." As she spoke passionately, Mark found himself enraptured. He could feel something shifting. Inside him, a crack forming in his shell. He was finally stepping into a world filled with genuine emotion, unfiltered happiness, a world he had so desperately needed to discover. But just as he began to imagine what this connection could evolve into, a sudden flash of doubt jolted him. What if he was too far gone to truly change? Before he could voice that fear, Grace looked at him, a knowing smile easing her expression. "Are you okay?" she asked gently, a hint of concern lacing her words. Mark took a deep breath, realizing this conversation would only scratch the surface of what needed to be said. "I'm figuring things out," he finally replied, inching closer to honesty. But he didn't know just how deep the journey ahead would take him. Yes, they shared more stories about their lives. Laughter echoed, and in that moment, everything felt alive. Yet, a layer of tension hung unspoken, hinting at challenges that had yet to be revealed. That spark of connection ignited a dozen questions in Mark's mind. Would he be ready to embrace the unknown? What truths lay in wait just beyond this smile-filled moment? Little did either of them know that their paths would soon intertwine in ways neither could expect. "Your life sounds really full," he finally ventured. "But what if? What if I wanted to step into that world? Would you guide me?" Grace's penetrating gaze held his, and for the first time, he saw a flicker of something deeper in her eyes. Would she be willing to take him along for the ride? The promise of transformation lingered in the air, a charge just waiting for the right moment to explode. What would it take for Mark to finally leap? Mark couldn't shake the intensity of Grace's gaze. Her eyes seemed to hold secrets, possibilities he hadn't considered before. The world outside the cafe felt distant, muted by the budding energy between them. He took a sip of his coffee, hoping to steady the racing pulse in his chest. "Guide you?" she echoed, a playful smirk touching her lips. "It's not exactly a simple path. It comes with messes, literal and metaphorical." Mark chuckled, the edge of anxiety softening. "I can handle a little mess. I've dealt with my fair share of chaos in business." "Yeah, but this chaos is different," Grace replied, her tone serious but warm. "It's messy in a real way, full of emotion. Sometimes it even means saying goodbye to the things you think define you." He leaned back, considering her words. Could he really let go of the armor he had built around himself? That armor had shone brightly through years of hard work, well-earned promotions, and accolades that brought praise but little joy. Their conversation flowed like a gentle stream, weaving through topics of career dreams, family traditions, and the little joys that sprinkled Grace's days. Mark found himself sharing snippets of his life too, revealing tender memories from his childhood gatherings at his grandparents' house, where laughter lingered around the dinner table, meaningful connections fostered in simple moments. See, you have your own moments of joy, Grace encouraged. You just need to let them back in. He nodded slowly, the ache in his chest slowly transforming into a flutter of hope. Maybe she was right. Maybe it was time for real connection and not just transactional interactions. As they talked, the cafe became a little universe where laughter blended with the rich aroma of coffee and the sound of clinking plates. Mark began to notice the small things, the way Grace's eyes sparkled when she spoke about Jake's first swimming lesson, or how Mia's art projects filled their home with color and creativity. Each detail was like a brushstroke on the canvas of a life filled with vibrancy. But it's more than just about my kids, she shared then, her expression sobering. It's about embracing vulnerability and leaving behind all that pressure to succeed. Sometimes it feels scary. It's a risk. A sudden wave of understanding washed over Mark. This was more than a simple invitation to be part of her world. This was about a chance to redefine what success meant entirely. Risk, he murmured, feeling the weight of the word in the air. I think I've avoided that for so long. Yeah? Grace tilted her head slightly, her gaze unwavering. What is stopping you? He took a deep breath, the coffee cooling between them. For the first time, the confession slipped from his lips, almost a whisper. I'm afraid of losing everything I've built, that I'll crumble without this armor. Grace reached across the table, her hand resting gently atop his. But what if I told you there's more to gain than to lose? Maybe what you have is not as solid as you believe, and what could come next, well, it could be even more incredible. The simple warmth of her touch sent shivers down Mark's spine, awakening dormant feelings he hadn't allowed himself to explore. He looked into her eyes, hoping she could see the uncertainty swirling within him. Maybe, but it's scary. She smiled softly, squeezing his hand. Scary can be good sometimes. It means you're on the brink of something new. I can promise you'll find laughter, joy, and yes, sometimes a bit of chaos along the way. But isn't that life? Mark felt a tense knot in his stomach loosen just a bit. He longed for what she described a shift from a meticulously crafted life to one enveloped in genuine connection. Could Grace really help him navigate this unfamiliar territory, guiding him toward a new kind of fulfillment? As they finished their drinks, Mark's mind churned with possibilities. Yet, the unanswered questions loomed large. What would he have to let go of? Would he be strong enough to embrace this new adventure? Grace caught his eye once more, and for a fleeting moment, he could see the unspoken understanding flickering between them again. Let us take that leap together, she said, her voice steady and inviting. Promise me you'll think about it. He nodded, his heart pounding as the cafe began to empty around them, the world outside continuing unbothered. But just when it felt like this was the turning point, a loud crash erupted from the kitchen. They both turned, startled. A staff member had dropped a tray of cups, the sound echoing ominously through the cafe. Mark's heart sank with a familiar sense of dread. If chaos had just entered Grace's world, what did that mean for him? Would his old life crash down as well? As his thoughts spiraled, Grace's hand lingered on his, grounding him. The unexpected disruption posed a new question. Could he embrace all of this, the messy, beautiful chaos? There was no turning back now. Would he find the courage to leap, despite fear yelling from the sidelines? The moment hung before him like an unfinished sentence, full of both promise and uncertainty, leaving him wondering if he was truly ready for what lay ahead. Mark's heart raced as he tried to shake off the noise from the kitchen. He focused on Grace's hand over his, her touch a small island of calm amidst the chaos. He had spent years building his world on predictability and control, but now that structure felt shaky, like a house of cards ready to collapse at the slightest breeze. What do you think that sound means? Grace said, concern flickering in her eyes. I guess it means life isn't always neat. Or predictable. He chuckled nervously, trying to lighten the mood, but the gravity of the moment pressed down on him. She smiled faintly, the warmth of her gaze wrapping around him like a cozy blanket. Exactly. We have to embrace the unexpected, right? Sometimes all it takes is one shake-up to see things differently. He breathed deeply, letting the air fill his lungs and clear his mind. Maybe this jolt was what he needed. The rhythmic clattering and chatter around him weren't mere distractions. They could be the rhythm of a new life, alive with change. Mark looked around the cafe, filled only with a handful of patrons. Now the sounds of laughter, the clinking of cups, the smell of pastries fresh from the oven. Each element of the bustling environment felt vibrant and seductive, pulling him out of his own thoughts. He turned back to Grace, who was studying him, her expression a tapestry of encouragement and challenge. "What if we did something wild?" he asked impulsively, the words escaping before he could rein them in. Grace raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Like what?" "I don't know yet." He leaned in closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. "But what if we threw caution to the wind? What if we didn't just think about it, but really took that leap?" Her expression lit up, and he felt an electric charge pass between them. "Mark, that's what I want to hear. The leap can start small. Just one step in the direction of change. Sometimes, the baby steps lead to the biggest transformations." Mark's mind began to race with ideas. Was a spontaneous decision what he needed to throw off the shackles of his carefully constructed life? "Okay," he said slowly. "How about we go to that open mic night at the corner lounge tomorrow? You can tell me about your art, and I'll face my fears on stage without any script." "Are you serious?" Grace's eyes sparkled with encouragement. "Yeah, why not?" The boldness surprised even him. "I've never been on stage, but it might be a fun mess. Plus, you can hold my hand through it. And I'll make sure you have the best time," she replied, her smile lighting up her face. Just then, the cafe door swung open, and a woman rushed in, her eyes wide with excitement. She clutched a bunch of colorful balloons and a cardboard sign that read "Surprise." Mark raised an eyebrow, watching as she hurried to a table where a group of friends shouted in delight. "Looks like chaos found us again," he said, laughing lightly. "Yes, and isn't it beautiful?" Grace replied, her excitement bubbling over. Life is all about these moments of joy amidst the mess. In that moment, he realized that the chaos didn't have to be ugly. It could be vibrant, unexpected, and rich with possibilities. He felt the knot in his stomach loosen a tiny bit more. "Let us make our own moments of joy," Mark murmured, his eyes meeting Grace's, each heartbeat pulling him closer to the edge of something exhilarating. She squeezed his hand. "Together?" "Together," he confirmed, more firmly this time. As they stood to leave the cafe, Mark felt a subtle shift inside him. The thrill of uncertainty was daunting, yet familiar. What he had been so afraid of losing control was slowly morphing into the excitement of living life anew. They stepped out into the cool evening air, feeling the gentle breeze against their skin, the first signs of change murmuring in the atmosphere around them. "Are you ready?" Grace asked, her eyes glinting with possibilities. "Absolutely." But just as they began to walk away, Mark's phone buzzed in his pocket. It was an emergency alert from his office. The tone was urgent, and he felt a new wave of panic wash over him. Would this crisis pull him back into the old life he was so desperate to escape? As he hesitated, looking between the screen and Grace, he was left to wonder, could he truly embrace this new journey when the past didn't want to let him go? The moment hung in the air, the rush of new beginnings juxtaposed with the pull of old obligations, leaving him wondering if he was strong enough to face it all. Mark's palms felt clammy against the phone as he stood rooted in place. He glanced at Grace. Her expression had shifted slightly from excitement to concern, clearly sensing his turmoil. The warmth of their earlier conversation felt distant, overshadowed by the weight of the alert pressing against his consciousness. "Mark?" she ventured softly, stepping a little closer. "Is everything okay?" He forced a smile, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. "Just work stuff, you know. I can handle it later." But he knew he was lying because the notification's urgency gnawed at him, unyielding. The very thing he wanted to escape had just pulled him back, tugging at the threads of his newfound courage. "Remember what we talked about?" Grace interrupted his spiraling thoughts. "This is your chance to break free." Her encouragement wrapped around him, momentarily dulling the panic. He looked around, taking in the vibrant cafe. The distant laughter from the balloons still echoed in his mind, reminding him of the beauty in moments of chaos. Maybe chaos was what he needed right now to highlight the inconsistencies of his life. "Do you want to check it?" Grace asked, her eyes earnest and patient. "Or should we put it away for tonight?" Mark pinched the bridge of his nose, caught between the life he had built dependent, predictable, and the life he craved spontaneous and full of risk. Could he allow himself to be free in the midst of this looming obligation? His heart thudded painfully as he weighed the two. He reluctantly opened the message. As he scanned the text, his stomach twisted. A high-profile client was threatening to pull out of a deal that had taken months to negotiate. The icy rush of anxiety crept in, paralyzing his thoughts. This was a crisis, and he knew he ought to be grateful for the alert it meant he could act before it unraveled beyond repair. But at what cost? Mark? Grace's voice drew him back. What does it say? It's a client emergency, he admitted, his voice shaking slightly. I should go and fix it. Now. The flicker of disappointment in her eyes shattered something in him. In that moment, he realized how deeply he craved the warmth and connection they had shared. He didn't want to face this chaos alone. Can I come with you? She asked, her determination unwavering that he hesitated. Grace, it's not a place for just because it's serious doesn't mean it can't be fun. If I'm with you, maybe it'll be easier. Her fierce belief in the power of togetherness struck him. With each moment, he felt the urge to dive back into his old life. Yet here she was, ready to face the cringe and stress alongside him, spinning light into the complications. What would it look like to blend his responsibilities with the thrill of this new journey? Taking a deep breath, he nodded. Okay, let us go together. They walked towards his car, Mark's heart beating faster than before. He still felt overwhelmed, but knowing Grace was by his side steadied him. They made it to the car, and with every step, his resolve strengthened. This wasn't just about work anymore. It was about seizing every opportunity to change. Even in the pressure of reality, as they drove into the night, the familiar streets blurred past him. This was still his world, yet it felt different now with Grace beside him. Every sound, every light seemed to spark possibility. What if the unexpected leads us somewhere amazing? Grace mused, breaking the silence, her anticipation palpable. Maybe it already has, he said, glancing at her and smiling. But, just as the anxiety was fading, his phone buzzed again. Only this time, it was a voicemail. He hesitated before pressing play, and as the words filled the car, the exhilaration made his heart race instead of his gut tightening. The tone shifted from businesslike to urgent. The news turned positive, an unexpected deal he had never anticipated. Could this be a sign? Mark glanced over at Grace. Her face lit up with excitement. They were both wide-eyed. He felt like he was stepping into a new chapter. The past may still linger, but tonight was theirs to own. Just as he reached for her hand, a sudden realization struck him. He craved new experiences. But what if the unexpected at the corner lounge had nothing to do with the crisis he was facing? Was he prepared for a surprise that could shatter his understanding of success? As he drove onward, Mark understood that the night had only just begun, and so had his journey. Mark's mind raced with possibilities as he navigated the winding streets towards the corner lounge. The upbeat music from the car speakers created a stark contrast to his earlier uncertainty. His heart was still in turmoil, yet even beneath that layer of anxiety, an unfamiliar thrill bubbled up. It was as if Grace's presence had ignited something within him, a spark he hadn't realized had gone dim. Do you think they'll be okay without you? Grace asked, her voice threaded with concern but also with curiosity. I mean, if your phone buzzed like that, it must be a big deal, right? Honestly. He stole a quick glance at her, then back at the road. I don't know. This whole thing has me questioning everything. What do you mean? Grace prodded gently, her tone encouraging. What if this isn't just about work? What if the unexpected twist could be something huge for my life? For us? He felt a surge of vulnerability. The words had flown out before he could pull them back. Grace's eyes met his, and in that moment, Mark could see the anticipation flickering within her. What if it is? She replied softly. What if all those years working just for security are about to lead you to something so much richer? An inviting laugh escaped his lips, easing the tension in his chest. He looked at her, really looked, and saw the brave spirit she held. For the first time in a long time, he felt the weight of his responsibilities lighten a bit. Okay, but what if it doesn't work out? He countered, the shadows of his old fears creeping back in. What if this all blows up in my face? Then we'll figure it out together, Grace said, her confidence unwavering. I'd much rather face chaos with you than sit at home wondering what if. She was right. The more he thought about it, the more he realized that clinging to his old way of life had been an anchor dragging him down. The rush of unexplored possibilities felt like open water, uncertain but exhilarating. They arrived at the corner lounge, and the moment they stepped inside, their senses ignited. The vibrant colors, eclectic decorations, and lively atmosphere felt electric, as if inviting them to embrace the night without reservations. Everywhere, people were caught up in laughter, conversation, and the clinking of glasses, perhaps a reflection of the spontaneity he had long craved. "Relax a little," Grace laughed, elbowing him playfully. He smiled, shaking off some of the lingering tension as they found an empty table. "You're right. I'll just embrace it." As Mark took a sip of his drink, he couldn't help but notice the harsh contrast of the office chaos hidden in his pocket versus the palpable joy filling the room. This carefree energy felt like what he had been missing. But just then, he spied a familiar figure at the far end of the bar. His heart sank as he recognized the imposing silhouette. Neil Harrington, the client who had just sent him the distressing voicemail. The man commanded attention, with a reputation for being ruthless in negotiations. Mark's stomach knotted again, the unease pressing back hard against the exhilaration he'd just begun to enjoy. "Is that who I think it is?" Grace whispered beside him. Picking up on his sudden change in demeanor, Mark could barely nod. Before he could think it through, Neil caught his eye and flashed a smile that felt more like a challenge than an invitation. It was a reminder that the chaos he had tried to escape was still a few feet away. As Mark watched, his pulse quickened. Could this night truly transform him? What was waiting for him just beyond those barriers of fear? "Are you ready for whatever is about to unfold?" Grace's voice pulled him back to the moment. Taking a deep breath, Mark grasped her hand firmly, channeling every ounce of determination he could muster. "I am." The air thickened as they stood together, ready to confront whatever awaited them, unaware that this was only the beginning of their unexpected journey. What could this chaotic encounter mean for them both? Mark's breath caught in his throat as he locked eyes with Neil. The room around him faded into a blur, the laughter and music transforming into a distant hum. Grace squeezed his hand, grounding him, but he felt the pressure build. Neil's smile seemed to stretch with confidence, a reminder of all that had weighed him down: decisions, consequences, and the daunting future just ahead. "What now?" Grace's voice was steady, but even she couldn't mask the tension threading through her words. Mark swallowed hard. "I need to talk to him." The words spilled out, propelled by a mix of fear and newfound resolve. "Are you sure? Right now? I need to know what he wants. It could change everything." Before Grace could respond, Mark was on his feet, navigating through the crowd. Each step felt heavy, as if he was walking through quicksand. He approached Neil, forcing a smile despite the gnawing anxiety in his chest. "Neil," he called, trying to inject some confidence into his voice. "Mark, good to see you." Neil's voice was as smooth as the whiskey in his glass. "Thought you might be at the office, drowning in paperwork." "Just taking a little break," Mark shot back, pushing the discomfort down. "I got your message. Is everything okay?" Neil leaned against the bar, surveying the room as if he owned it, which maybe he did. "Well, I wouldn't say okay. We need to discuss your last proposal. It wasn't exactly what I was looking for." Mark's heart raced. "I see." He tried to maintain eye contact, but his gaze flickered to the glimmer of Neil's expensive watch, the kind that could buy 10 of Mark's monthly rent. "Let us take this somewhere quieter," Neil suggested, nodding towards a corner booth. "I think you'll see the bigger picture." Mark turned back to Grace, who was watching anxiously from the bar. "I'll be right back." As he followed Neil, a rush of panic surged. What did this mean? With each step, the stakes felt higher. Was he ready for whatever Neil had in mind? The thought of turning back clawed at him. But this was also the moment he had craved. Settling into the booth, Neil leaned closer. "You've got potential, Mark. Just remember, this industry is all about who you know and how you play the game." Mark nodded, the weight of the words hanging over him. "I've heard that before." Neil smirked. "But have you ever really believed it? You can't just wait for opportunities to drop in your lap. You have to seize them." "What do you mean?" Mark asked, curiosity battling the dread. Neil leaned back, his confidence radiating. "I've got a project coming up that requires a fresh perspective. I want you on board." Mark felt his eyes widen. "Are you serious?" "Absolutely. But it'll require dedication, a level of commitment you've yet to show." Commitment. The word echoed in his mind. Was he ready to take such a leap? What would that mean for his life, for Grace? "I need to know tonight if you're in," Neil continued, his expression firm. There's no time for hesitation in this game. Mark's thoughts drifted back to Grace. There was more at stake than just his career. As Neil's pitch wove around them, he felt the importance of the moment settle deep within him, like an anchor. Can I think about this?" he asked, unsure how to tread the line between ambition and authenticity. Neil's eyes narrowed slightly, but he nodded. "Time isn't something we have much of, Mark, but I'll give you till the end of the night. Just know that I'll be watching your every move." Mark's heart raced. Was he really willing to gamble everything on this? He could feel the weight of decision pressing down as he returned to Grace, her eyes filled with concern and trust. "What happened?" she asked urgently. "He wants me to join a new project." Mark hesitated, searching her expression. "But I'm not sure what that means for us." She took a breath, steadying herself. "You have to follow what feels right, even if it scares you. Just remember, whatever happens, you're not alone in this." Had he been holding his breath? The urge to leap into the unknown pulled him forward, yet the warmth in Grace's gaze held him back. Could he truly find that balance? As Mark sat back, lost in thought, he noticed a figure across the room, an unexpected friend in a quiet conversation, someone who might change everything again. What did this meeting mean for his next decision, and how would it ultimately shape his newfound path? Mark's eyes narrowed as he focused on the familiar figure across the room. It was Lisa, an old friend from college. They had lost touch over the years, but her spirited energy and laughter always managed to stand out in any crowd. She was animated, sharing something funny with a couple of other guests, her smile lighting up the dimly lit space. What was she doing here? Mark felt an unexpected swell of nostalgia. Lisa had always been a free spirit, someone who danced to her own rhythm, even when life threw her curveballs. He remembered her stories, the ones about fighting through hardships, finding joy in small things. She had a special way of inspiring people to dream bigger than their circumstances. Perhaps this was the moment he needed an anchor in the storm brewing within him. "Wait here," he said to Grace, before making his way through the knot of people, his heart pounding in anticipation. As he approached, he felt a strange mixture of excitement and dread. "Lisa," he called out, and her head snapped in his direction. Recognition lit her face, followed by a bright smile that made the room feel lighter. "Mark, wow, look at you. I didn't expect to see you here," she exclaimed, wrapping him in a quick hug. "It's good to see you. What brings you to this fancy shindig?" he asked, trying to mask the nervous energy that seemed to bubble inside him. "Oh, just keeping a friend company. Although, I didn't realize I'd be dealing with this crowd." She laughed, looking around with mock horror. "Let's just say I'm more used to cleaning up after parties than throwing them." Mark chuckled, feeling his earlier tension melt away a bit. "I hear you. Crazy how the other side lives, huh?" Lisa glanced at him, her expression softening. "You look like you could use some fresh air. What is going on with you? You seem tense." That was an understatement. He had a massive decision looming over him, and here was a friend who had seen him at his most vulnerable during their college years. "Just a lot on my mind," Mark admitted. "I've got this opportunity at work. It could change everything for me, but it's terrifying." "Terrifying is often a sign you're onto something big," Lisa responded, her tone thoughtful. "What is stopping you?" Mark opened his mouth to explain but paused. Instead, he just shook his head, feeling the weight of his internal conflict. "It's complicated. It feels like there's so much more at stake than just my job. Sometimes, the biggest leaps come with the most fear. Remember when we planned that road trip? How scared we were. And look at how that turned out." He smiled at the memory of late-night talks, shared dreams, and that single daring journey that pushed the limits of their youthful ambitions. "Yeah, we got lost a few times but made some awesome memories," he replied, chuckling softly. "That's what life is about, Mark. Not every path we choose will be straight, and it sure can be messy, but those moments make you who you are." Lisa leaned in a bit closer. "You can't let fear dictate your future. It's okay to feel scared, just don't let it paralyze you." Mark's heart raced again, the realization that Lisa understood him, perhaps even better than he had thought. He could feel the walls of his indecision beginning to crack. "You might be right," he confessed. "But what if I fail? What if I make the wrong choice? There's no life without risks. But there's also no growth without challenges. If you don't take a chance, you'll never know what you could become." As she spoke, Mark found himself reflecting deeply. He could see Lisa wasn't just spouting platitudes. She genuinely believed in the power of taking leaps. Listen, she continued, her voice lower now, almost conspiratorial. Whatever happens, I'm here for you. Just chase after what truly makes you feel alive. Hearing her heartfelt words stoked a flame of determination inside him. This wasn't just about work. This was about his life, his choices, his future. He needed to talk to Grace, to share his thoughts, his fears, and hopefully, his decision. As he glanced back to where Grace stood, he noticed her searching gaze. What would she think if he took the plunge? What would it mean for them? The tension hung in the air, thick and electric. He felt ready to face some hard truths, but also a sense of hope rising within him. Thanks, Lisa. You've always had a way of making me think, he said, feeling lighter than he had in hours. No worries. We need to keep pushing each other forward, she smiled, but her expression turned serious again. Just remember, you can't always play it safe. Follow your heart. But before Mark could respond, he felt Grace's presence nearby, her wary yet supportive energy creeping into the moment. How could he bridge the gap between ambition and their shared dreams? Suddenly, he knew he had to choose what came next, and whatever it was, it had to happen soon. The night was closing in, and so were his options. As he turned towards Grace, he could feel the weight of the world on his shoulders, but also a simmering hope bubbling up. Would he choose to risk everything for the chance of something greater? Where would it all lead? Mark drew a breath and turned back to Grace, the weight of everything they had shared swirling in his mind. Grace, he called softly. Her eyes met his, concern mixed with unyielding support written across her face. She had been his strength throughout this night, her warmth guiding him as he navigated a path that was murky and intimidating. Can we talk? He asked, his voice steady. He gestured for her to join him, and she approached with a trusting smile, one that told him she was ready to listen, no matter what. What is on your mind? Grace inquired, her tone inviting yet serious. I bumped into Lisa, he confided, glancing at where she sat, now chatting animatedly with other guests. She reminded me of something I've been avoiding, the fact that life is about taking risks. Grace nodded slowly, clearly following his thought. And I have a chance to take a big one. Neil offered me a project that could change everything. The silence hung thick between them, and Mark could almost see the wheels turning in Grace's mind. But it comes with a cost. I'll have to commit more time, possibly stepping away from moments like this. He gestured to the crowd, where laughter floated like bubbles breaking in sunlight. I can't pretend to know all the details, but I do know that you need to take this chance if it feels right, she said, her gaze unwavering. You've worked hard for moments like this, Mark. I see the struggle within you every day. If this is what you want, then chase it. I want to follow this opportunity and also stay connected with you and the kids, he said, his voice shaky yet earnest. That's what I'm struggling with. I don't want to be just another suit, just another businessman who forgets the joy in life. The nerves were spilling out, revealing the depth of his conflict. Grace reached for his hand, her touch grounding him. You don't have to become that person. We have a connection now, and it's genuine. Don't let fear of what you might lose hold you back. Life can be both, and you can chase your dreams while being connected to the joys of everyday moments. Her unwavering support breathed new life into him. What if it doesn't work? What if I fall flat? Then we'll figure it out together. Her words were simple yet powerful. They resonated within him, a shared responsibility for dreams and the connections that filled their lives with meaning. Mark's heartbeat quickened, the weight of indecision slowly lifting. This was the moment of realization. He craved the realization that life sequences don't always have to follow a strict outline. Maybe chaos could be a sign of opportunity, a symphony of unpredictable notes composing a new melody. Taking a step back, away from his reservations, Mark looked straight into Grace's eyes, filled with understanding and possibility. Okay, I'll do it. I'll take the leap. Really? Her voice lifted with joy. Yeah, he said, smiling wide, the excitement bubbling up. I'll talk to Neil and see where it leads. You're right. I want more than just security. I want to live, to truly live. Then let's embrace the chaos together. Grace beamed, her expression radiating warmth and encouragement. The bond between them felt electric as they exchanged a knowing glance, the night ahead brimming with promise and uncertainty. The world around them faded away, allowing their connection to be the focal point. As they walked back toward the vibrant hustle of the corner lounge, the air was filled with music and laughter, signaling the dawn of a new chapter. Mark felt a thrill of anticipation he hadn't felt in years, of feeling buoyed by the knowledge that change was underway. With the promise of growth glowing brightly on the horizon, everything clicked. Pursuing this opportunity meant risking comfort, but it also meant opening the door to joy, connection, and laughter. Beyond the shadows of anxiety, the vibrant colors of life awaited. He didn't need to choose one over the other. The beauty lay in the blend of chaos and delight. Just like the bubbles Mia and Jake loved so much, a delicate balance of lightness and joy that filled the spaces between his heart and mind. As they moved forward together, Mark's hand intertwined with Grace's, the world became spacious. It felt light, filled with laughter and the kind of love that encouraged risk. With every bubble of excitement in his chest and a grin on his face, he whispered, "Let us see where this takes us." And with that, they stepped into the open possibilities, ready for every mess, every moment, knowing it was not just a journey, but a transformation, one filled with relentless laughter, connection, and a love that would become the heart of their adventure together. The call to live had been answered. Now, do you feel this journey of transformation as deeply as Mark and Grace? Don't wait. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you won't miss their next exclusive stories that are sure to inspire. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support for this beautiful tale of growth. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Tell us how it impacted you. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformative journey. This is the moment for true fans to rally around the magic of personal growth.